5 minutes. So. Showtime.
Wait for technology to catch. There we go.
Okay, this afternoon's Oregon Town Board meeting will come to order, and Jennifer can do a roll call. please.
Yes, Carl Balzer,
Here.
Lori Fitzgerald, here, Arlen Kai,
Here.
and Steve Jernigan.
Here. Thank you. And item number 3 is discussion and possible action regarding the process of appointing one candidate to fill the remaining term of the town board supervisor that expires in April of next year. On attached in the packet is the actual procedure. Well, 2 things. There's the procedure for filling the vacancy, which we developed a year ago. And it refers to statute, which spells out more about what the types of vacancies that might occur and who's empowered to vote on filling them and that type of thing. The statute does not go into the actual procedure that we file to review applicants and then vote on them. So that's what this is attempting to do. This is what we used last year. Most of it does not apply to today because we won't get to the point of hearing all of the applicants. But for the most part, what we're talking about today is under meeting procedure. Some of this doesn't apply because we have one applicant here today. What we'll do is have Tim. We'll give Tim 5 minutes to present information about his application, about his background, history, whatever he wishes to present. All of the things about choosing to order the applicants doesn't apply here. And then any of the board discussion will be postponed until we hear from all of the applicants after the May 1st, or probably during the May 1st meeting. We'll decide on May 1st. Chances are we'll vote that night. I don't know why we would delay it after the 1st. And then whoever is nominated and approved will be sworn in if available at the regular board meeting. So which I'm blanking out on.
It's May
Must be
14th.
the 14th, I think it is.
Any reason not to swear in, because it's a selection on swearing that night?
Well, it's specified in this procedure as the following board meeting.
Okay.
I don't know if it's in the ordinance itself. I know the ordinance isn't in the packet, but I have a copy here.
And we wouldn't have, like, Tim wouldn't be there that night either, so. Tim wouldn't be there that night of May first,
Okay.
so we probably want to wait and appoint them. Yeah.
Sorry, I'm gonna be out of town. We got a trip planned for a long time, from the first until the 12th.
Is it Scotland?
Yes.
Yeah,
Oh,
wonderful. That's-
Yes.
Yeah, it's awesome.
So I'm inclined not to edit the procedure. I did approve the ordinance. I don't think it says it in there. So any questions or comments? And really, well,
Do we have a copy of the question? Is that? I don't,
So the questions are due tomorrow, so Tim has till tomorrow to review them, the questions, so he's just gonna make a statement today, and then he has till tomorrow to answer those questions. Is that what you're asking?
yeah,
so
that's what I'm asking.
Yeah,
the second set of questions. are-
yeah, the second set of questions, yep, so tomorrow there will be due, so you'll have the full set of questions answered by all applicants by that May first meeting.
And do
You got a set of those questions,
Yes, I
right?
did.
Yeah, so he'll be able to submit them.
Yeah.
prior
Okay.
to-
And I'm happy to address them here. I just didn't, I didn't submit them until tomorrow, just in case I missed something.
Yeah.
In our conversation and I didn't put in a
Yeah.
formal response, well, however you'd like to do it,
Yeah.
I'd be happy to go. through them.
Yeah.
Whatever you prefer.
Depending on whether 5 minutes seems like a really long time to you or a very short time.
Sure.
You may want to, you'll want
Fall
to
back
judge,
on those as,
you want to judge whether
sure,
just the written answers are sufficient for us.
yeah,
I know I'd like to have a chance to review them all
yeah,
and sit back
Yes,
and look
yeah,
at them.
totally
Yeah.
understand.
Yes,
Yeah.
I really
I
approve
agree.
all.
that
Oh, yeah,
they
either
should all
way.
Be the same. It
Right,
should all
right.
be submitted. as
Yes,
one.
Right.
either way, I will submit those.
Yeah,
Whether I talk through them more informally at this time, either way, I'm happy to submit them formally. Yes, for sure.
Okay. Anything else for item 3? Nope. Then, Tim, what we'll do, let me. I have additional time, you know.
Okay.
Get that set up. And I'll give you just a heads up at about 30 seconds.
Sure,
If
that
you,
sounds
if you haven't finished by then,
sure.
so just give me 1 second. Okay. All right, so if you would introduce yourself and then your 5 minutes to start after.
Yeah, great.
Here you start.
All right. If it's all right, I'll sit. I'm happy to stand, whatever you'd prefer. So, my name is Tim LeBrun. We live over on Highway MM, just south of the middle school. We actually share a driveway with Bob Prawl, the Nesses and the Masseys. So right across the street from the, what everybody calls the presidential neighborhood. Our driveway is right across from Harding Street. And so our neighbors include the folks who moved the Victorian out of town, out in front of all of a sudden escapes me, pardon me?
Yeah, across from.
Yes.
Across from Quick Trip area.
Yes, exactly. And moved it up onto the hill and restored it. Actually, Arlen is very familiar with that property.
familiar.
Yes. My wife is Susie. Susie is the Dane County Highway engineer, construction engineer. She's been a civil engineer for 35 years. We have four children. Our oldest is 32, it's 33 is Elliot. Our next son is Alex. Both of them actually are Eagle Scouts and have plaques out here, recognizing that the work that they did for their Eagle Scout project here in the town. Both of them did work at Bicentennial Park. We back up to Bicentennial Park. Actually, our property backs up to Bicentennial Park and runs along the Anderson Quarry. And then we have twin daughters, Nina and Maddie, who are adults now. They're 26. They're our twin daughters. And so our kids are kind of spread around the country, out in Vermont and Oregon, up in the Twin Cities and in Green Bay. I am what I consider retired. I have what I call a side hustle. We build commercial storage condos. A business partner and I have been building them as kind of a hobby, for lack of a better term, for 20 years now, since 2003. A great example of those are the storage condos, the 3 buildings here on the other side of Hefty's building. Those are the buildings we built, and we built, we're building our 23rd neighborhood of those buildings in Windsor. In fact, we are on our last 2 buildings out of 22 buildings, 44 units. My business partner and I are general contractors in that business. And so we don't have any employees, but we work with all of the same contractors wherever we build our neighborhoods. And so we work with family-owned businesses typically. So our projects take a little bit longer because we have 2 framers who are brothers. We have 2 excavators who are father and son, et cetera. And so we just build as they have the capacity. My background actually is in finance. I worked for US Bank for 10 years. I was vice president of commercial, assistant vice president of commercial lending at US Bank. It was First Wisconsin when I started there, right out of school. And so I have a background in finance. After that, I worked for Playcon, which is another local company in Fitchburg, where I worked for 8 years as a national sales manager there. And then most recently, I worked for Runsheimer International. And Runsheimer International, I worked there for 16 years. And they are a consultant firm that consults in business vehicles. So instead of providing your employee a company car, Runsheimer calculates the cost of owning and operating that vehicle so the employer can provide a tax-free stipend. You go buy your own car. A car that works not only for your business purposes, but for your personal life as well. And so you own that vehicle as opposed to the company providing it.
Tim, about 30 seconds.
Oh, wow.
Yep.
I'm sorry. So I've been involved in lots of different things. I have been on the school board. I was on the school board for the last 6 years. I finished that stint about, last April. I was on the school board for 6 years, the Oregon School Board. I've been on several other boards, including the board of Glacier's Edge, which was the 4 Lakes Council of the Boy Scouts. I was the board chair for the Boy Scouts in all of southwestern Wisconsin. And I do lots of other volunteer activities. So I'm in the Knights of Columbus, I'm the president of the Optimist Club and things like that. I have board experience, volunteer board experience, but I also am familiar with running a private enterprise, which builds buildings like you see just down the road.
I'm gonna have to stop a bit.
All right, I'm sorry, that goes a lot faster than I.
It does go fast.
Yes, so I'll
All right, thank you.
open to your questions.
We won't have questions for you.
Okay.
Um,
Oh, I'm sorry, I used all that time.
no,
Uh,
that's okay. And so, the key thing then for you is the second round of written.
No problem.
answers, and we'll get those by tomorrow.
Mhm.
With 4 o'clock? Or does?
Yeah,
is there-
yeah,
is there
4 o'clock
time-
tomorrow.
time
Yeah,
on
then I'm gonna get the facts together. But if he has questions for you guys, that would be another option.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, I do, actually. I've been to a few board meetings this year, primarily around Jerry's development out here, just to understand what his plans are for his development. I was very interested in the transition from using Torque as a primary place for refuse and going to the garbage bin collection with Pelletieri. So more as a listening, I wasn't here making any presentations or anything like that. I know that the long-term plan, has that been published now? Has the
Comprehensive.
comprehensive plan, has that been approved and published now?
It has been approved.
Okay,
I believe it's available online.
okay,
I can check with Stephanie. There was like just some few glitches with mapping and stuff of getting it all online. but
okay.
I
I didn't
think
see
we're
it, I
taking-
couldn't find it online.
Yeah,
And
I
that's
will
why I
make
was
sure,
wondering.
right. We were trying to get it. Hey, Stephanie? Yeah. Do you know, have you put the new comprehensive plan online yet? I know there was a
Yes.
few, oh, it is online.
Yep,
Okay,
if you go under comprehensive plan on there, there's a link to everything.
and that's the new one.
Yep, that's,
Okay.
that's the new
I
one.
don't know
Okay.
how I couldn't. get
Okay.
it.
Okay,
So very good,
So it's a link to a different site rather than say a PDF or something like that.
got it,
So at the county's site, I don't know where they have it in the county site, probably under zoning.
yeah.
yeah.
That the thing is links always like seem to get broken, especially when we're connecting them to another, it's always better when you can have a PDF of it, but the way
Yes.
the county did our plan, and I think it's just the way that they sent it to us, so.
I got you.
Yeah.
We were hoping to this PDF, we were hoping, but the mapping just for some reason wasn't like connecting.
Sure, all right. The other thing that I have a real interest in understanding where the budget's been over the last 5 years and where it is for this year. Because I know that, in the grand scheme of things, we don't have a huge budget in this town. My understanding around $2 million, and that there's really one source of, for lack of a better term, one source of revenue and a big, a source of expense in keeping our roads up. And so I'm very interested in what that looks like, not just for this year, but what it's looked like over the last several years and how the final numbers came out compared to those budgets and what it looks like for next year. Because my wife is in that business, we talk about things like that a lot. And so I'd like to understand what that budget looks like, because I know that repairing roads can be very expensive. And it's been very tricky the last 3 or 4 years, particularly. Considering all of the labor issues and all the supply issues that have been in place, even though lots of that comes from local sources. So
That's a long discussion with lots of documentation.
I am sure.
So
I am sure.
The candidate that is nominated to fill this position will dive into that.
Yes.
You know, so we'll start, well, we never stop talking about it.
Mhm.
You know what I mean?
Sure.
So, but in late summer, fall, we'll start to dig into next year's budget.
Great. All right. Very good.
I would say that, one thing you could look at too is the annual meeting, and all of the annual meeting documents should be online they probably won't be under town board, they'll probably be under elector meetings, and at the annual meeting every year, it'll have that. This is what the budget was and this is what was actually spent.
Okay,
So
very
the
good.
documentation is out there and available.
Sure.
It-
And that's
it's kind of-
historical.
yes.
Is there any documentation out there that says, oh, as of the end of April, here's what the budget was, and here's where we are so far in the spend?
We upgraded to a no accounting software
Okay.
recently, and we have that capability. We don't do it every so often, but we're talking about doing it. This board is talking about doing it because we have that capability. Before, the budget used to be on an Excel spreadsheet.
Yes.
And it was like, and it's different. One thing that Steve Rudd actually helped us do was upgrade our accounting software. So now our budget's in our accounting software, so we can actually look and pull that,
Great.
which it's just, it's real time. And that's what we needed to do, but
Sure.
it took actually upgrading software and buying into that, which was an expense. So
Not
now we can do it. So yes, it's there. So
not unusual.
yeah.
The last thing I have a question about is what is the board's perspective on hiring outside counsel for some of that help? Budgeting help, engineering help, development help? What is the board's perspective on that?
I don't want to speak for the entire board, but I think we've put in practice relying on a lot of external, let me say resources, just
Mhm.
because could be anybody. But we do that. And I don't, anybody else, I mean, we do that when needed,
As needed.
yeah, per project, I think it.
Sure.
And it depends on the project, but we rely on some county sources, we rely on independent sources.
Mhm.
So we do, I guess is the answer.
Okay, so that the town is willing to spend the money after a thoughtful process, as opposed to just saying, well, if we run into a snag here and it costs us only this amount of money, it would be money well spent. To go out and find an engineering resource, for
Right.
instance, if we have a road that is particularly challenged, would you hire outside resources to do the engineering on it?
It depends on the funding source.
Okay,
We've applied, for instance, we applied for a grant
Mhm.
for doing the southern 2 miles of Union Road.
oh, yes,
And with that, the requirement is that it be engineered.
got it,
So that is built into that program. Otherwise, it's looking at what it is that the needs that we have
Mhm.
and saying, "Oh, do we need an engineer here?"
Sure,
Then we'll be doing that. I mean, we get Judd Road. Judd Road may need some really good looking at
Sure.
if it's in such bad shape.
yeah, and it's,
But so it's an as needed. We're looking at some planning for the parks
yes.
that we would be needing to get a planner.
Mhm.
We hired Dane County to help with the comprehensive plan.
Mhm.
Before that, we had MSA.
Mhm.
So
Yeah, great.
it's something.
That's helpful to
It
know.
can be like project.
Mhm.
Do we have folks on retainer? I think the attorney's the only one we.
And he's not even on retainer. This
Okay,
is-
so-
So that's on an as-needed basis too.
Yes, right.
Sure. All right.
I think this,
But not as a. I would hate to run into a problem, all of a sudden, oh, we have to have an engineer, so just. We like to foresee these problems.
Absolutely.
It doesn't
Totally
always
understand.
happen, but for the most part, it'd be rather safe.
Yeah, yep.
Look at it that way.
Yeah, exactly. And the reason I ask that is because I am not an engineer. And I don't plan to be an engineer. And so I just want to make sure that if we don't have the resources here in our presence on our board, that we are willing to go out and say, let's get a resource to help us do that. That's all.
That'd be there but there's also remarkable, the talent that we have within the township.
For sure.
And when we set up the road and safety committee,
Mhm.
which is the first time that was done, to be looking to be having a good 5-year plan.
Mhm.
Lo and behold, we found we had some pretty terrific talent and people willing to help
That's great.
participate in the planning. And so we've had, for the first time, projected into the future.
Mhm.
And so it's looking at how many other places do we need to do, and the parks is going to be one of those that we're going to be looking into the future as well.
Great. All right.
I think legislation has some, like, you might have followed this, but impact fees require the municipality to have an outside firm. So we have to, that's something that's changed. So
Sure,
that,
yeah.
and so it's like going out there, because if we want to charge it, we can't do that in-house.
Yeah, yeah.
So some of it's like outside of our control too.
sure.
Yeah,
Okay.
so.
Could I say something about the
Yes.
legal fees?
Yeah.
So I've been on the board a year and I've observed that I feel our clerks and the board are very mindful of how expensive those legal fees can be and try work very hard to just use that as needed
Mhm.
and to keep it reasonable.
Sure.
But I will say, we had something last year with a contract, with a new contract that we had never, a type of contract we had never gone into before. And then we also run into a typical thing that happens is a resident has an issue and we consider a new ordinance.
Oh, sure.
Whenever you want to create a new ordinance.
Yeah.
And that's one aspect of being on the board so far that I find the most challenging is
Mhm.
reading the proposed new ordinance,
Yes.
trying to understand what it says, trying to see how it might not solve the problem because it's all, so those are ways in which we use the legal service. But I just want to repeat, I feel particularly Jennifer and Stephanie are the go-betweens when we talk to, we lost our old guy, Larry Beckler, we have
Oh, yes.
a new contact person. There's always this idea, no, we know it's really expensive, we know that we want to just use this very, very judiciously
Yes.
as we need it.
Yeah, yeah. And at the same time, the penny wise and pound foolish it can be a day, especially in these days. There's a lot of landmines
Mhm.
around that can
Yes,
cause a big
yes.
issue, and to get somebody involved too late
Yeah,
can be a lot more expensive than getting somebody involved upfront. I'm not saying, hey, let's just hire people so we
No.
don't have to get the work
no,
done.
but I
totally
see where you're
understand.
coming from,
Yeah.
and I have been involved in situations where I felt people were overly reliant when I was in my professional life before I retired.
Mhm.
That, there's these arrangements can come across where there's, people begin to question, why are we, having all of this work
Yes.
done outside?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
In my professional life, with our storage, our warehouse office condo business, we do a lot of work with a lot of townships. Town of Waukesha, which became a village while we were working with them. The town of Windsor, which became a village while we were working with them. And there can be a quantum leap in how they use outside services when that happens, for a variety of reasons, some of it legislative and some of it just by necessity. So we run into that a lot in our business, and that's why I ask, how do you go about deciding, you know, when it's the right time to, hey, we should really bring somebody in, and lend us a hand here.
Tim, thank you very much for your application.
Yes, thank you.
The extra information.
Yes, thank you for squeezing me in.
Yeah.
Really appreciate it.
Have a good trip.
Yes, thank you. And Jennifer will have my
Okay.
formal.
Yeah,
So,
thanks, Tim, thank you so much.
thank you. Steve, I don't.
Steve, you're like. Nice to meet you. Well, I don't always come in this way, but on nice afternoons, I do.
Yes. I might just sit for just a little bit.
Yes, yes.
Okay, item number 5 is discussion about the summer road patrol work, mostly mowing, although not necessarily only. And Brian, thank you for being here. Do you want to talk to this a little bit?
Sure, I can
Both of you?
start. Talked with Ryan and Abel a little bit on Friday. So the first question is we have for the last few summers hired a park specific mower. Someone who was just coming in to mow the parks. So the issue became is last year we had Ryan's son do it, which was great. And going into next year, there would have to be, if we can just rehire him again, what hours and the wage. But that brings us to somewhat of a different scenario. After talking with Abel, the town of Dunn got a grant for doing 5 miles of a road. We have reciprocity with the town of Dunn, which means we provide, our guys go over there and provide service, and then in turn, their guys come over here and provide us service. One thing unusual about the town of Dunn is when they had a retirement in the Public Works Department, they did not fill that position. So they are down 1 employee of the town of Dunn, which makes reciprocity be even that much more important when you've lost a member of your team. So tied into this as well is the fact that the guys earn comp time, and I think you're all aware, but when they plow during the summer, we don't pay them overtime. They take the time and a half and they put it in a bank called comp time, which they then use throughout the year. So what can happen is they can use that comp time whenever they want, but sometimes that will cut in on the work that they can do, mowing roadsides specifically, which can tend to get out of hand depending on the mowing season. It can, doing other duties. And then in addition to having to help out with the town of Dunn, the question might be is, do we want to hire someone that would be more full-time on a set schedule in the Public Works Department? So there's someone here that can cover those tasks when the guys would be able to use their comp time and if they need to help the town of Dunn.
And just to
if they're-
clarify, we're talking
Yeah.
about full-time, limited term though, just
Exactly.
summer, or till whatever
Yeah.
the end date.
Yeah. So,
What is full-time? What does that consist of?
so I would think 40 hours a week would be.
No, that's not insurance, none of that other stuff.
It's limited term employment, so it would just be summertime. So you would define when you'd want to start date and when you'd want to end.
But no benefits.
Yeah,
That's
right.
correct.
Right, no benefits. So when I talked to the guys, there was a little bit about roadsides are not, I don't mow them, but apparently they're not very easy to do. We can talk to Ryan about that. And so it might not be something that you would put a young kid to do. So there could be a combination of 2 limited term employment positions that we could consider here. Someone that would be, maybe more capable of mowing the roadside mowing is generally something we get the most complaints about because it interferes with people how they can see when they're pulling out of these dangerous intersections and things like that. So I guess this was kind of just bringing up how we can prevent problems before they happen. And we can also make sure that the guys are able to use the comp time that they have saved up and that, if we're doing this reciprocity, you know, how is that gonna work with all the other duties that we have to get done? So,
And Ryan, can I ask you, so Caden's your son's name, right?
Right.
Caden. So roadside is
I think roadside,
realistically beyond, too risky for him to do.
I think for, yeah, for anybody that's 16 years old, that's a pretty big liability.
Yeah.
Just for the fact that you're on these highways with, big equipment and
Yeah,
stuff like that. Now, the thing is with a mowing, the nice thing, and Steve knows too. The nice thing we had with a mowing is if we had somebody established, which we did a few times. It was nice to have them come back the next year. There's no training, no.
right,
It's like, you know where to go, you know what to do, go.
right.
So that's why, that's what I'm just saying about that. He's already trained, he could keep doing
And he
that.
did mostly the park.
He did the
properties,
parks and the torque and here,
The torque,
yeah,
yeah.
he did.
But not the
all-
road, but not the roads.
he did not mow roadsides.
Okay,
did you do cemeteries?
He did not do cemeteries, and we have not, Abel and I have always made it a point to. Abel and I are the only ones to ever do cemeteries. Nobody, no other parks more we've ever had since I've been here has ever done a cemetery.
okay.
Can they not do cemeteries or,
They could, but there's a lot to mow around, a lot to weed whip around. The bank out there is really steep on A
okay,
and.
so dangerous for a
It-
16-year-old? Is
it's-
that another dangerous job for a
Yeah,
16-year-old?
we haven't had any of them do it just because we're a little particular how we wanted it done.
Right.
So we said, we're gonna do that ourselves.
Yeah. How much, if you're comparing what Caden did last year, those pieces. As far as time goes, is that 50-50 with roadside or is it not that? I
Well,
get a feel for what,
well-
if he doesn't do roadsides, then what does that leave for you and able to do?
If he doesn't do roadsides.
If he doesn't, he's not gonna do, let's say
Right.
he just won't do roadsides, right? But if he doesn't, then how does the roadside? The time it takes to do roadside mowing, how does that compare to all the park mowing and the torque and?
Well, roadside mowing that's almost like all summer long.
Yeah,
Because the time you get done one round, you're starting a second.
right, right,
And then the third one, then there's a little break in that one. And then we do the last round when actually it's starting to freeze and everything's starting to die off and then we go fence line to fence line so we can see what we're doing,
yeah,
what you're hitting,
yeah,
basically.
right, right.
What it kind of comes down to. So that's a longer thing, but as far as like the parks last year. I know he didn't get in the hours that he could have, cause it was dry.
Right.
We went several weeks without mowing, really,
Yeah, oh,
unless you're out there mowing some weeds that pop up. But I mean, there was, several times.
And I think we talked a little bit about, there was like a wish list that Steve, luckily he's here, had put together of like some painting projects and things like that. So if we got Caden more on a set schedule of like, he's coming in these days with these hours, even if it was like a dry, there's a punch list, so to speak, of projects that he could still work on. The problem would be is these projects are not necessarily taking time away from Abel and Ryan for them to be able to, freeing up their time, but there's still projects that I think are in the mix of getting done that he could do.
What I'm trying to get a feel for is whether we're really talking about two people
Right,
and not
Right.
like splitting 20 hours, but more like 30 hours or something like that, that's above and beyond.
We have some little
Above and
things
beyond
like,
one full time.
even out to the torque, Abel and I noticed the gates out there should be repainted yellow. Little jobs like that I wouldn't mind doing it, but something for somebody like with the parks could maybe do that. Gazebo at Bicentennial, we
Yeah.
discussed that. That needs to be stained again.
Right.
A lot of these park signs at all the parks entrances need to be stained.
Correct.
The post, basically. Some of the signs need a little bit of touch up, but little things like that.
and could Caden handle those things?
Oh, yeah, those things.
Those things he could
Oh,
handle?
yeah.
So if you put him on a schedule, what kind of schedule would that look like? Do you think, would it be like 5 hours a day for 5
Right.
days? What would a schedule that you think he could kind of stick with?
I'm not real sure on as far as that goes, but what I do know is every parks mower that we've ever had since I've been here. We basically, I mean, their schedule, because they're always either a high school kid or a college kid, basically. So their schedules are kind of up and down on when they're available.
Right.
And so we always just said, and I don't know, Jennifer, how you always felt about it, but I always said, you know what? Here's what you gotta do this week. Every park needs to be mowed, get it mowed.
Right.
But it's gotta be done Monday through Friday, unless of course you get a week of rain or whatever. But get them mowed, and if that means you come in at 10 and you're done at 5, that's fine, you know. If you wanna come in noon and work till 5, that's fine, just get them done.
And I think that was, in the past, it was sort of that, I think that was kind of a mentality in the past where this person was only to mow parks. And that worked well when it was only to mow parks, but I think what we're finding is we have these other projects that we need to get done. So that's why it would be maybe a little bit better to have some set hours and some set days so that there's, in addition to parks, hey, we have some more tasks. And you're not gonna maybe finish doing all of those tasks on Saturday or Sunday or that week, but that these are tasks that, and I have kids too. And if they have the option to leave or come, that's what they're gonna choose. But if they have to be there from 8 to 5, that's, they're gonna do the work that they have to do and prioritize a little bit. Just to get the work done, these little projects that we
And
have.
those, I think, are filler tasks, you know,
Yes.
if the priority is mowing,
Sure.
totally get that.
But then if you're
And-
staying till 5, you're gonna maybe go out and start this project. So, I guess that would just be sort of kind of ensuring that these other projects are gonna get done this
Yeah.
summer.
Brian, do you know offhand, I know you said you're not totally sure about his schedule, but does he have anything set already that you know, oh, he can't work on Wednesdays because of something, or?
No, but I know it, so he'll be a senior
Oh, okay,
in high school, so
Right.
he's got, you know, he's got things going on.
Yeah.
You know, and they have weightlifting, and then he'd leave weightlifting, he'd come up here and he'd work.
right,
And his mom lives in Oregon here, so he could go there and eat lunch quick or whatever and come here and then he'd work till 5. Or they might have football at 4, so he'd work till 3 and then have to go to that, so.
right. So, okay,
As far as him. A set schedule would be hard for him for that, but I think the mowing part of it, it's flexible. Now, if you guys are looking to have one person do all of it. Then for him, it's not gonna work. I mean,
Right.
it's just
yeah,
clear.
and not necessarily, I don't know that I don't know that we're leaning one way or another.
I think we just
Um,
need somebody to, maybe, the other thing with the comp time that the guys have is there will be days where we will have no one in public works on a certain day. So having a set schedule, it doesn't have to be Caden, but it could be a second person. It would be nice to just make sure that there's someone here on those days so that the projects that need to get done are here. So potentially then that could be a fourth person or second person, however you want to look at it.
Question.
Yeah, question, now, this is kind of going around. This person we've had before, the name is,
Hayden?
Katie,
Yeah,
Ryan's son.
Ryan's son.
okay.
last year was his only year.
Are we looking at him being 40 hours, 30 hours?
They
45
usually
hours?
get, the park's more for what we currently have last year, cause we didn't have the Anderson Park, 2 parks there. So last year he was probably what, 25 hours a week, probably?
Yeah, I'd have to go back and look. Now, to clarify that, was that you ever mowing any parks or would 25 hours be mowing all of the parks?
That'd probably be more than all of them.
So,
Without
and
me
so-
doing- And here.
Okay, so 25 hours in a typical growing season, it
Okay.
takes 25 hours to mow all of the town parks in a
week.
in a week. So
Okay, but
25 hours
the-
mowing park.
Then what have we budgeted for the summer help? 40-hour a week person?
To be honest with you, I think I took what we did last year and I budgeted about, a little bit about what we did last year for the parks mower, which was probably about 25 hours a week.
Is what we've got, is what we have budgeted.
It was what we have budgeted, but I think that given that we offer this comp time in lieu of paying overtime, we have some significant comp banks and the guys are have that in addition to their vacation. And typically when they're gonna be using that time, or Ryan can talk to, is going to be the summertime, because if you can imagine, they've got about 5 months to use it, and then they're gonna start earning comp time again.
In lieu of the fact that last year was a dry summer, they didn't mow as much. Were the hours reduced then? Should we allow for a few more hours because that we
To be safe.
we don't want
probably.
that same unusual summer again, but
Yeah,
to be
You
safe,
don't
we
know.
should have that.
right.
Okay,
Right, so you just, you don't know what your winter's gonna be like, so you don't know how much comp time the guys are gonna earn, so budgeting and then ebbing and flowing with what we have to deal with in terms of weather is always constantly a balancing act.
okay, well, with the comp time.
Yeah.
Does that cut into the funds available for this summer help?
No, the comp time would be, it's just that work isn't getting done during that time, which is okay. As long as, there's just, an understanding that cemeteries might not be mowed, or roadsides might not be mowed, or potholes might not be getting fixed, eventually, but we get calls and everybody wants it done now.
Yesterday.
Yeah,
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 so I'm just, now, you were talking about a second person. We don't have it in the budget to have a second person.
so you could look at that and say, your other option would be, do you want to pay out the comp time? Which we don't have that in the budget either, but we have to pay them.
Yeah.
Like, they're entitled, they worked the hours.
Right.
So our budget cannot be as rigid as what you're saying,
Okay.
because we have to pay salaries, so the money is going to have to come from somewhere, or the services are just gonna have to be gone.
Okay, well, I mean, we don't know how the weather's gonna be this summer. We don't know what the
No.
weather's gonna be next winter. It's gonna be what it will be.
Yeah.
And if we have a less than 25-hour a week for this person actual parks because it's drier. Sounds like you have backup jobs of painting fence posts, gates. There's other tasks
Yeah,
that,
and there are, and that's not something he or anyone else that we've ever hired to do that is gonna go have a CDL and drive a truck either. I mean, they can, not saying that they're going to, but no one would ever do that,
Right.
because they don't have a CDL, but I think some of the, Jennifer, what you're saying too is, I think some of that might have to, like, you talk about not getting some of that stuff done. Abel and I, some of that it's gonna have to go on him and I as far as prioritizing. Okay, you're not here today, Ryan. What parks need to be mowed? Or what roadsides need to be mowed? And maybe I won't go to Dunn and haul gravel today. Or it's just gonna have to, we'll have to make a list on what's getting done and what's not.
Mhm.
If you decide to not do something.
I think in the past is the very narrow version of this summer parks more was specifically parks. I think the first thing is opening up that person can do other duties, not just park related duties. So if it's 25 hours a week and there's rain all week, we're opening that up to say, we still want that person and here are the job duties we want them to do. So I think that would be
Yeah.
one first step.
yes. I think
Of
that's-
directing that. And then I think the second step is discussing the hauling of the gravel, the use of comp time, and how much we want to give Dunn. So for example, if Dunn has enough work for both of our full-time guys, and they want both of the full-time guys over there hauling gravel, is that something that the town board's gonna be okay with? Or are they going to say, no, we really want one to hang back and,
I mean, my personal opinion is one on that. I mean, ultimately, really what we need is another permanent full-time public works employee, just like we need another full-time permanent office employee. Ultimately, that's what we need, I think, but we can't do that now. So that's why we're looking at trying to piece this together.
and it might be a summer of learning, but we just want to make sure that this is upfront so that if there are complaints or whatever, everyone's well aware, the workload, the time off, and the availability we have of other people.
I mean, I really think the reciprocity participation is for us to determine, right? For not, for Dunn to say, we need both guys.
Yeah.
It just, that doesn't fly.
And we've done that several, and vice versa, they'll send both their guys over. Dunn will send both theirs over
I
too.
mean, I guess it depends on what the current week looks like or day
Right.
or whatever.
Yeah.
If it's whatever the conditions are that makes it reasonable where both of you could go there. I mean, yeah, I'm not saying don't do it. I'm saying in
Right.
general, there's a difference between sharing hours and giving your entire staff away days and days.
Yeah, so what I'd like you to look at, the very back of that packet that I just. So the town of Dunn is the only one that keeps track of reciprocity hours, meaning. Todd at the town of Dunn adds up when he sends someone here or when we work for them. So I gave you 2 years, I gave you 2020 and I gave you 2023. And as you can see on the line, at the end of 2020, we owed the town of Dunn 70 hours. So that means they came and worked for us and we owed them 70.5 hours. Then you fast forward to 2023, we're at -11, meaning that the town of Dunn owes us -11. So it just goes to show how those reciprocity hours can ebb and flow depending on the project that they're working on. Now, I can't say because we don't keep track of the hours here, but for example, when Alpine Road happened, they gave us hours for that. So this is where we're kind of running into an issue is our Lake Road projects and them helping us out and then us, and it happening perhaps on a summer for us where they need help and we have projects that need to be done, but
Yeah, we're gonna have our road projects kicking in.
we'll have our road projects.
I don't know when the dates will happen, but there'll be, I'm sure, work to do.
Right, so it almost is like, summer, yeah, it's like, during the winter, it's just plowing, but it's like road projects and mowing that are happening here, which are sometimes just as important as the plowing, right? So, and it's the time when the guys can use their time, so. It's nothing you have to decide tonight, but it's something to think about. So also in your packet, I just included,
Can I interrupt you for just a second? Because I think these two items are on the May 1st agenda too.
yeah,
Let's try to decide
yeah,
May 1st and
Yeah.
decide whether we're gonna say one person, one person in the summer or try to figure out some other arrangement. Let's try to figure it out. So we're not pushing it, to
Right.
middle of May and then June and. let's
Yeah,
just
yeah.
Make some decisions.
Ryan, do you and Abel have your vacation schedules for summer sorted out or not necessarily? No. So comp time, the way comp time works, comp time is a unique thing for municipalities, and the way comp time works is that essentially an employee can say they're not showing up for the day, and unless it's causing undue hardship, there's not really a way that you can deny it.
Right. I mean, it's a
Kind of.
personal day. It just
Yes.
happens to not go against your
Right.
vacation time.
Exactly.
I mean, because it's been earned. It was
Yes,
earned.
it's already been earned, right, it's already been earned. So I guess, Dennis went to somebody who worked for the town of Rutland. Rutland?
Dennis used to, yeah.
Yeah. He maybe could be an alternative. He maybe could mow roadsides. I think you guys were looking at maybe possibly looking at him. We had Todd who helped us plow, but that rate of pay was a little bit higher than what the town might be able to pay. So in our packet, the top was just where the comp hours are at. That was kind of the comp time. And then, we run into a little bit of an issue, and this is a me issue, but comp time, we pay into the Wisconsin retirement system. Comp time and the Wisconsin retirement system do not always get along, so I have to be very careful of that. And then the next few pages were just samples of other municipalities that were hiring for parks mowers and wages. We paid $17 last year to Ryan's son, so we would want to maybe adjust that if, depending on that he's coming back a second summer, you may want to increase that. Or if you're going to be hiring someone that has more skill to do the roadsides, what that wage might be. Couple things to think about.
Anything else on this one before, and we'll talk about it again next week? Or no, in 2 days.
Yeah.
I caught your schedule. Okay, and I missed anything else, anyone? And we're running up against the park committee meeting a little bit. We've got a couple minutes. For item number 6. That might also be able to be pushed till either Wednesday or the.
I have it on Wednesday's agenda as well,
Yeah,
and then I have it on the May 14th. So I have all these on sale on May 14th.
let's not tackle 6, because that's a discussion and that's.
Yeah, and I'll just point out that on in your regular packet, the packet for the board meeting today, very back of it is this colored chart. So basically what you're gonna be talking about is one of our loans is going to retire. It's going to go away, so we'll be replacing that loan. And so that's what we would be discussing, and you can look at that loan chart here.
Thank you. Anything else for this meeting? All right, without objection, we are adjourned. Thank you.
Jennifer, I think I'm just gonna take January off for the whole month.
I'm gonna take November off. Right, November, right, because I think that would be a better idea.
Hey, Ryan, just curious, as far as comp plan,